Spend less, spend more time outdoors. Budget hunter.
Welcome to Budget Hunting, where we save money deer hunting. I'm Josh Stinton, and I'm a teacher, I'm a father, and as a teacher and as a father, I don't have a lot of money to spend to go deer hunting. So I have to rely on tried and true methods to get me out in the field and not spend a whole lot of money doing so. Here are 5 alternatives to more expensive items that you can use that'll help you get out in the field sooner and cheaper. When compiling this list, I used Amazon. And the reason I used Amazon is because the items are going to be largely the same anywhere you are. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, Canada, whatever, these items should be available to you. And we're going to go through them in order of what I consider to be least important to most important component for deer hunting. Now, I would argue that they're all very important, but we're going to look at the lower priced items first, and then we're going to examine the higher priced items as we move through this video. The very first thing I started with in this video is deodorant. You heard me right, deodorant. A lot of hunters will spend money on Scent-Away and other deer hunting deodorants. I'm here to tell you though that you can find some unscented deodorants that will perform just as well, if not better, in the field and will save you a lot of money. You'll see here that the scent killer deodorant is $2.46 per ounce, which, doesn't sound like a lot, but you'll see for deodorant it actually kind of is. Stealth Mode, made by Green Theory, is $4.90 an ounce. $4.90 an ounce is just far too much for a deodorant you're only going to wear during hunting season. Dead Downwind is cheaper, but it's still $2.17 an ounce. One trend you should notice with all of these different hunting deodorants is that they're more than regular deodorants, for one, even more high dollar deodorants, and if I'm being honest, the quality isn't there. You're going to be better off buying an unscented deodorant made by a trusted brand. So for that, I would look no further than Speed Stick. And yeah, I know Speed Stick is what your drunk uncle wears, and you're probably used to the smell. The good thing about this Speed Stick deodorant is it doesn't have a smell. And Speed Stick has always been the kind of, poor man's deodorant. I bought it when I was in college so that I could save a few dollars. The next cheaper option is Sure. And yeah, it's a woman's option, but deer don't care. Are you going on a date with them? If this is all you got in a pinch, I would totally pick it up. They have an unscented option and it's dirt cheap. So definitely keep this in mind if your options are running low and you need something for a Saturday that you're trying to get in the woods. And then Mitchum. Mitchum has always been kind of the old, reliable, old man deodorant. This is going to be your cheapest option here. Like I said, you're not taking the deer on a date. You are trying to kill it and disguise your scent. So, it's a no-brainer that I would pick these over the ones marketed for deer hunters. The second item on this list is soap. Unscented soaps. Deer hunting soaps, are marketed to cover your scent much like the deodorants are. We can use those soaps and they will likely perform very well. Scentaway is definitely a very popular brand of soap that a lot of hunters use and a lot of hunters swear by. Dead Downwind is another one. But there are other alternatives to these that are cheaper per fluid ounce, and typically you can get more. Plus, they're probably better for your skin.
Scentaway is going to be probably the best option of the deer hunting targeted soaps. So like if you're searching deer hunting soaps on Amazon, it's going to be the cheapest option. Dead Downwind is only a little bit more expensive, but I'm not going to value it simply because, you know, you don't have to buy quote unquote deer hunter approved soaps to get by. And the same goes for this Illusion Systems Phase 1. It's just too expensive. $12.99 for a bottle. I would much rather just go and buy a regular unscented soap. And I've got a couple of options here to show you. But as you can see, all of these soaps are targeted toward deer hunters. And we typically think, oh, hey, well, this is made for deer hunting, so it's got to be better than, the soap that I'm using. Just any old hypoallergenic soap will work. I like bar soap, and it's hard to find an unscented bar soap. So, I would definitely purchase this, but look at it. It's $1.41 an ounce. That is just far too expensive to be spending on soap. I might use this as a travel option because I could just put it in a sandwich bag if I go on a deer hunting trip. And I said Scentaway was probably my favorite option of the deer hunting options. This one is both a shampoo and a soap. So this one's probably the most value for your buck. Wildlife Research Scent Killer. But again, I'm still not going to value this as much as just regular soap. The great thing about Dove soap is that you can find it at any regular supermarket. You don't have to go to Walmart to pick it up. And so I'm going to value this just because you can find it everywhere. Sensitive skin, unscented, and it's usually available in generic options and in pump options, which if you look here is 33 cents per fluid ounce. That's so much cheaper than your deer hunting options. So it goes without saying that, this is 33 cents for a, Dove brand. The generic option is going to be even cheaper than that.
The third item on this list is a knife. Now there are knives that are marketed specifically for deer hunting. And when you gut a deer, you need to have a knife. And in some cases, if you plan on getting the most bang for your buck, no pun intended, and the most meat out of your deer, a lot of people like to use a bone saw to be able to separate the deer's hindquarters and create an opening to help facilitate that. And that makes the cleaning process a lot smoother. One of the big reasons this is because you can field dress your deer, remove all of the intestines and all that, and prepare it for travel, or prepare it to wherever you're going to complete the skinning and deboning of the rest of the deer carcass.
Now you can get the bone saw and the knife in a nice neat little package here for $40 with the Mossy Oak brand. And sure, this is nice. It's got everything you need, but it kind of has too much. I mean, you don't really need all of this. I would spend a little bit more on the knife. The Kershaw folding tactical pocket knife is going to be very high quality. These Kershaw knives are super high quality, durable. They're just going to be more value for your buck. And then go ahead and purchase a separate bone saw. And you can keep both of these things on you in your hunting bag So that way you have easy access to them. And these are really the only two items that you need in order to skin a deer.
Now, as we move up into the list, we're looking at boots. Now, I've preached the importance of having a good pair of warm boots out in the field. Now, a lot of boots are camouflaged. I don't really think they have to be. Truthfully, I would argue that you could just buy a pair of camouflage pants and cover them up and call it a day. So the boots that are marketed for deer hunting are going to be more expensive because they carry that camouflage pattern. Now, I found some boots that are waterproof, insulated, and probably a heck of a lot more comfortable, that are cheaper than your deer hunting boots, and even the kind of discounted deer hunting boots. Now, if you still didn't want to go that way, I was able to find another cheap alternative to the kind of more popular brands on Amazon at this moment. And you kind of have to dig a little bit for these. I've heard a lot of really good feedback regarding these particular brands of boots and types of boots.
So on Amazon, these are going to be your top two brands. The Tide Wee for $80, which is a really good price, I'm not going to lie, and the Muck Boots, which are $150. Now, both of these brands are obviously very well trusted and well known. But there's also this brand. It's not a very well known brand, but they're winter boots, they're insulated, and they are waterproof. Now, this Nordic brand is only $40. They're insulated and they're waterproof. And just because they're not camouflaged doesn't mean they can't be used for hunting. That part is kind of a silly thing if you ask me. I think we want to have things that fit into a neat little box. These could double as snow boots or just everyday use winter boots. And if you don't like that style of boot, you can always go for this high C boot, which is only $48. It's a nice looking boot. It's insulated and waterproof. It gets good ratings on Amazon, so it's definitely a decent boot.
Let's talk about number 5, ground blinds. Now, I understand, maybe you forked out money for a deer stand, and you're a stand guy through and through. And I love stands too. They have a lot of advantages. You're out of the deer's sight path, you're out of their scent. Like, you're not putting scent out as heavy as if you were on the ground. That being said, the versatility of a ground blind can't be understated. You can get deep into some thick stuff with a ground blind. It's a lot easier to maneuver than trying to haul a climber on your back when you're holding the ground blind in your hands. Now, that being said, ground blinds can be almost as expensive as deer stands, but they don't have to be. And we're going to talk about another way that we can use ground blinds that maybe you hadn't considered before, or maybe you didn't know what materials that you needed. So we'll talk about that coming up.
Now, this is a ground blind on Amazon at $78. It's a pretty good price for a ground blind, all things considered. Baronet blinds, I don't know anything about them, but looking at the reviews and looking at the structure of the ground blind itself, it appears to be a pretty solid ground blind. But there are other ways to have a ground blind and get just as much cover for a lot less. And I'm going to go through kind of how I would set up a ground blind instead of taking something like this into the woods and trying to make that work. What I would personally do instead is get like a netting, like a military style netting. And you can wrap this around 3 trees and create your own ground blind in a matter of a minute or 2. It doesn't take long. Get it secured and in place. In my mind, this is going to be way more flexible and versatile than a ground blind that you would just put together, because you can set up at anywhere where you have a few trees that you can wrap this around. In addition, you could just take in some poles and drive them into the ground real quick and set them up there. This can be used on field edges and really thick, nasty brush. So I would highly recommend this over a conventional ground blind. And the size that I would prefer is only $16 for 5 by 13 feet. This is going to do essentially what that ground blind that we saw at $78 is going to do for $16. It's not even as much work as setting up that ground blind.
Well, there you have it. 5 alternatives to more expensive deer hunting items. I'm Josh Stinton. This is Budget Hunter. God bless you and your family. Merry Christmas. And I'll see you next time. Take care.